A very warm welcome down to Stony Point. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is a gorgeous, albeit windy day down here at Stony Point, the day before a storm. My name is Jax. I'm going to be a naturalist down here today. And behind the camera, we have Igor, who is donning his drama llama crown. So let's go and have a look at the sea. The wind is going to be picking up throughout our tour. And Igor, do you want me to stand up? Is that what you're trying to, do you want me to stand up on camera? Oh, he's trying to show his horn. He's trying to poke me with his unicorn horn. So I'm going to get up and we're going to have a look behind us because we are in Hideaway. So a reminder that we are a live show, so send us in your comments and questions. You can do that by scanning the QR code on your screen. That's probably the easiest way to get hold of us. You could also register on our website, and you can chat to us there. And we do love to chat to you, and we love to read your comments and hear what you have to say. We've got just one African penguin. He was coming back after a morning's worth of fishing. And we've had several unanswered questions from yesterday that we're going to be chatting about. So the one unanswered question was about herbal teas that can be made with plants at Stony Point, and you'll have to watch Saturday's show to be able to find out more about that. I'm not going to say too much today. We've got a bit of a surprise in store for our weekend at the largest waterhole on the planet. Fiona, indeed a Waddle Wednesday for the win. This penguin is waddling on. Our other unanswered questions had to do with the fynbos, and so we are going to be heading back into the fynbos towards the end of our show and talk about the incredible coastal dunes that we have along the Cape Coast.
Hi, I am David. I come to you live from the Mana Triangle, all the way from Kenya.
This is not a postcard. This is real. Sunrise in the beautiful Masai Mara.
Here on Wild Earth, we love it when you interact with our guides while they are live. In order to do this, you must head over to wildearth.tv/questions and submit your questions, comments, and suggestions. Simple as that. And to make it even simpler, from time to time, you will see a QR code on your screen. Open your camera phone and scan this code, and it will take you straight to where you need to be. We look forward to answering your questions on this channel.
I think Igor is hoping that this penguin is going to, this penguin is coming to the dune spinach wall through one of the other pathways. And this penguin is deciding whether or not to cross the road. And if Ella was right yesterday, if this penguin does spot our unicorn Igor, the penguin will cross the road simply because Igor is here. We'll have to see if that happens. So we are still watching this little penguin who's going to cross the path. You can see they are very cautious. They take their time before deciding whether or not to move along. And this dune spinach wall is a very clever construction. It just protects this beach from people and dogs who might try to access it. So the construction of this living wall is the reason this is Penguin Beach. And Igor and I are going to wait for this penguin to cross before we make our moves. And one of the unanswered questions that we had yesterday was about animals that would eat honey in the Cape. Chloe, the vegetation is really beautiful down here and evergreen, so I'm glad that you're enjoying the views that we're getting. And we are going to be spending quite a lot of time in the greener areas of the colony today and on the outskirts of the colony. In wildlife watching, patience is key. And you really do want to wait it out. When you have an animal who is on the move, you want to let them do what they need to do. This penguin has he popped back into that hole, Igor? He's popped back into the hole. He's decided he doesn't want to cross. Back to the unanswered question yesterday from Jessie about animals that eat honey. So I was having a read and we were talking about honey guides and honey badgers, and in fact both of those species are not honey eaters per se, but rather eaters of honeybee larvae. Apparently the larva is a great source of protein, and so they will ingest some of the honey, but the main point of going into a hive is to enjoy the feast of protein-rich baby bees.
Here at Wild Earth, we promised great monthly prizes for our explorers, and this month is no exception. If you join our club before the 10th of July, then you stand a chance to win a fabulous Safari Guide online course brought to you by Bushwise Field Guides. They specialize in accredited safari guide training with courses tailored for the African safari large industry. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer today and don't miss out on this life-changing opportunity. It's time to put your feet up after a long week. Wild Earth invites you to unwind with a weekend at the Waterhole, our life source of the bush, home to so much joy and danger. Join us on the 9th and 10th of July to get your wildlife refill broadcasted to you live all weekend at the Waterhole.
Beaches, I wasn't expecting to spend a lot of time down here at Hideaway, but it seems that we're actually catching some flight from the Crazy Eights, and we've not seen them fly before. So this is super exciting. I would like to try and set up the tripod for Igor so that he's able to capture this. They are moving towards us. And I think that's so exciting that we actually get to see them spreading their wings and almost fledging. Let's see if I can get the tripod ready. And we're trying this again today to see how well I do. I'm not going to make it very high. Igor's going to have to bend down with his unicorn horn. Here we go. Is that ready? Is that fine? Do you want it higher? Okay, so the Crazy Eights are moving along the seashore. And a couple of them are in the water. It looks like many of them are taking the lazy way out. They're just going to hop into the water. They're not going to fly towards their siblings. Leroy It really is. We've seen them flapping their wings, but if you have a look, oh, there we go. There's some wing flapping again. I'd really love to see them take off if we can. So we might just spend a little bit more time. It seems that they're coming back to the shore. There were two, I think it's two of the ducklings, three in fact. Yeah, three of the ducklings are in between the kelp, and those three ducklings flew away from their parents. So I do wonder if they'll be the first to leave Mark and Cleo. Now they're all coming together, which is really lovely. All united, and there's a penguin who wants to be the 10th member of the Crazy Eights. And as I said that, he's bowed down in shame and tried to not be with the geese.
I guess you could say he ducked underwater.
Yeah, Eagle's saying that you could say that the penguin ducked under the water. And I've got a very special pun in store for Igor later on. I keep messing up your name, I'm sorry. And we've just got a little penguin who is going to pass us. So neither of us can really move. And I'm going to keep my voice down. I am going to look at the Crazy Eights. So I can't move now. This penguin is really nice and close. Is he looking at us? If ever you're down at Stony Point and you're in a situation, or in fact any penguin colony, and you're in a situation where you have the penguins so close, then what you would do is exactly what we just did, where you keep very quiet, you stand very still, you look away from the penguin and let the penguin pass. And Arctic Circle has just asked a really good question about when this area was protected. And I'm not entirely sure. I think it became a marine protected area in the 1990s. Maybe it was 1998. I was reading about it the other day, and I don't have the exact answer for you. Arctic Circle. I think it took some time before it was protected. And I'm not going to be with you tomorrow. Byron is going to be with you. So perhaps he could answer that question tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll have a think and see if my brain can recall the exact year.
Wild Earth's weekend at the Waterhole is going to be epic, and we want to make sure that you are kitted out for the occasion. We've launched some wonderful merchandise just for you. Are you a dam cam lover? Find these and more on our website. So get your snacks ready, put your feet up, and join us for a weekend at the Waterhole.
So it's the weekend, and what better way to spend a day than sat near one of these wonderful waterholes?
So get yourself some snacks and a hat and come and join us for the weekend at a watering hole.
So for the days the 9th and the 10th of July, our teams here at Wild Earth from across Southern Africa are going to be spending quality time at a number of waterholes.
We will see you there.
See you there.
So Igor and I are on the move now. We've decided that we want to head off and see what else we can find down here in the left wing for you today. Honey badger, so that is a brilliant question, and I would really hope that one day this area would be dog-free for the penguins. So the actual point has a gate, and the actual point is protected, but the area surrounding the point, I believe, is still, although managed by Cape Nature, still part of municipal ground. And so I believe that according to the laws, it's not managed by Cape Nature, it's not fully protected, and so people have the legal right to walk their dogs here. I think that at times people don't think of the consequence of having dogs down by the seashore. My dog loves the beach, so I take my dog down to the beach in KwaZulu-Natal. We have a little holiday house there, but I think that in this area, I think we need to do just a little bit more education about, you know, the fact that dogs can sometimes give the penguins a bit of a fright, and hopefully people will think about that before they visit the colony. And so even if that can't be put into law, that dogs are not allowed here, it can be something that is a change in human behavior, and something that as citizens we decide to actively change. In theory, actually, they could pass bylaws where they could have a no-dog zone, and they've done that quite successfully for the breeding of the African black oystercatcher, as well as your white-fronted plovers, which I don't think we've had them on the show, or if we have, we've had them once. But I think it is certainly something to look into, and Igor and I talk about it quite a lot. You know, how do we make sure that we are using this space as ethically as we possibly can? And one of the things would definitely be to not bring your dogs down, to not walk your dogs very close to seabird colonies, to give penguins as much space as you possibly can. We're just taking a moment to enjoy the clicking frogs, who are very raucous today. Igor was looking at them while I was chatting about the dogs in the area, although we don't have any dogs around today. I do wonder why they are so loud today.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on Wild Earth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. Wild Earth Expeditions. Travel with purpose. Here at Wild Earth, we want you to learn as much about the wild as possible. Sadly, we can't answer all the questions on Safari Live, so we've come up with a new way to solve the problem.
I love answering your questions, and now I have the chance to answer even more. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, and you can join me on July the 6th after the Sunset Safari here at the beautiful Amakhala Game Reserve. Have your questions ready.
Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature.
So Igor and I are taking a leisurely stroll through the left wing. Jimmy, I'm so glad you love the sound of the frogs. It is beautiful. And today fairly deafening, which is quite unusual. And we are walking you through the left wing. Do you want to stop for a bit, Igor? And Igor wants us to stop for a little bit and spend some time in our usual left wing position. So we'll just set up the tripod. You're going to show me every time I set up the tripod. Yeah, I was about to say, Penguin Beaches, you have to tell me if I'm getting better at this or if it's just sad to watch every single time. I did see, I had to laugh. I saw Moonbeam Smith said that after I joked about Igor and I play fighting, he said he'd really like to see me put Igor in a headlock. And Penguin Beaches, I am a recovering pacifist. I'm not a very good fighter at all. The only thing I actually ever managed to do is to get Igor's stomach when he is not paying attention. So there's no way I'd put Igor in a headlock because Igor is actually a black belt. The footpath start to end. Claire, if we're going to encompass the entire boardwalk as well as the left wing, I'm going to hand that over to Igor. How far do you think that is total? 300 meters?
Oh, it kind of depends on where you start and where you stop, because the path going this way to our left, I mean, we walked there the one time we went on a dive, and we actually managed to walk quite far, and we could have kept going.
So that can go all the way to the beach, but I would say this is the end of the Penguin area. So if we encompass the end of the Penguin left wing, and then go to World's End, what would you say?
Okay, so basically from here, all the way up there, around there, up the dunes, over the boardwalk, through the little gate, all the way across to the point. We reach a corner, and then we go sort of down the hill and to World's End, just over that rise. I would say all in all, that's maybe 300-400 meters.
I'd also say about 300 meters.
Yeah, maybe not quite 400, maybe between 3 and 4, like maybe 350 meters.
So it's not all that long a walk. You can walk a lot further along out of the left wing, and then you walk through the coastal shrubs, and that's actually what we're going to be doing a little bit more of later on in today's show.
I would estimate, let's use a more universal standard of measurement. I would say about 800 penguins if you lay them flat. Nose to tail.
Did you do the math? Did you say 60 centimeters worth of penguin times?
Penguins don't stand 60 centimeters tall. They're 60 centimeters tall or long if you stretch them out.
Moonbeam Smith, they do. I find them less obtrusive than wind chimes. Wind chimes are not a good idea in the Cape. I once stayed at a place that had wind chimes, and here it's always windy, so they're more like pain chimes when you hear them 24/7. Have a close look at our black and white penguins. Let's go look at their smart tuxedo suits. So I did mention, so Igor has a black belt in judo, is it?
No, all styles karate.
All styles karate.
I did judo for about 3 years.
So Igor is actually an incredible fighter, and what's amazing is that he breaks it down for me. So I sent him your comment, Moonbeam Smith. I sent him that you'd said that I should put him in a headlock, and he was very sweet. He actually sent me a video of how to do it. In South Africa, we've got this very quaint thing called load shedding, which is essentially when they give us a break from electricity so that we can enjoy other things in life. And Igor took that time in his load shedding to actually show me exactly how to do a headlock, which I still wouldn't be able to do even if I tried very hard. So Igor would always win, but the point of our play fighting for me is to outwit Igor. It's not about brute strength, it's about a battle of the minds, really.
The Masai Mara in Kenya, a remote landscape where wilderness reigns. Its inspirational beauty captivates the hearts of many around the world. This year, from August, Wild Earth is leading a number of unique expeditions to follow Africa's greatest wildebeest migration here in the Masai Mara. And now, the remaining places have been discounted by 20%. Head over to our website to find out. We want to make it even easier for you to interact with our guides whilst watching Wild Earth. When you see a QR code like this pop up on your screen, then open your phone camera, point it at the code, and you will be taken directly to our question page. Simple as that. Then you can let us know what you want to see, ask questions, and much more.
I've had it before where I've been walking and the waterbuck's jumped out of the grass. It's quite a frightening experience.
Wild Earth, it's in your nature.
Where is all the penguins?
So what I asked Igor to do is just to go and point out the sand dunes, because if you have a look at Stony Point, we have a rocky beach here, but above the rocky beach, where we have the aloes and where we have where the penguins breed, would have been sand dunes before people came here, and we stabilized the dunes. We planted things like grass and rookrans. And so all along the South African coast we would have these sand dunes, and they're actually very complex ecosystems. So we're going to go have a look in the dunes very soon. Sugar bits? No. They are not the only birds that don't fly. So I believe you get a flightless cormorant in the Galapagos. I think that there's a cormorant that was so lucky that there was so much food around that they stopped flying. I think, does the great auk the great auk doesn't fly to my knowledge, because that was
Are you only talking about seabirds or just all birds?
I think seabirds. If we go to all birds, then we could look at things like the ostrich and the emu. But I'm pretty sure that the great auk is also a flightless bird, to my knowledge. I must admit that my northern hemisphere birds, unless one of my whale watching friends actually posts photos of them or tells me about them, I don't know all that much about the birds in the northern hemisphere. And Igor just got a nice compliment from a lady on the boardwalk about his Alice band. People quite like to see Igor as a unicorn.
Where's my shadow? Oh.
Today really is the calm before the storm. Apart from the frogs, it was really quiet down here today. So Igor's got something he wants to say. I can't interpret him at all. Kimbo, so we do find albatross here. We did get to see an albatross on the show the other day. And I think it was a shy albatross, and we were at World's End. But the best days to watch albatross is when the wind is blowing from the west, and you do want to be as close to the sea as possible and as close to the deep drop-off as possible. But we certainly see several species of albatross in South Africa. So some of the species we see in slightly deeper waters, but on the coast I've seen shy albatross and the Indian yellow-nosed albatross quite often. I've also just realized that the great auk is an extinct bird, so that's not a good example of it was a flightless seabird, I believe. But apart from the flightless cormorant in the Galapagos, I can't think of another seabird that struggles to fly or doesn't fly at all. Because I think the premise of a seabird is that they are often traveling these really large distances to find food. I think soon enough Igor and I are going to move on because we want to show you some other exciting things on the seashore today. Or rather not the seashore, but along the dune fields. So I think when we think of sand dunes, we always think of just the sand dune. I just want to check with Igor. Igor, do you want to do tripod for what we're about to look at, or would you want to...
For this?
Yes.
No tripod.
Okay. So I was just checking with Igor, so we're going to go freehand for this next section. And Jamie, you're asking me if I would ever visit the Antarctic, and the answer is 1,000,001 times yes. I'm desperate to go to Antarctica, the subantarctic islands. And in fact, my Facebook memory from today is when we found a seal with a tag on it at Dyer Island. And this seal is actually from the Crozet Islands, so it's a subantarctic fur seal who swam all the way here. But we are not going to be talking about big animals right now. We're actually going to move into an area where we've got some smaller animals, and we're going to be talking about our beach hoppers and our sea slaters again, because yesterday I said quite wrongly that the beach hopper is an isopod, but it is in fact an amphipod. And so we're going to look at the difference, because you've got both sea slaters and beach hoppers in this area. So what we're going to do is we're going to get down on our knees and see. In fact, these sea slaters are they can all breathe under the water, because we've got so many of them who are climbing on the rocks, which is very interesting. Although these actually might be a different species, but they're still an isopod, because these are an underwater species. But we're here and we are in not a tidal pool exactly. This pool of water is fairly stagnant. I think it takes quite a lot for the water to reach this area. And what I want to show you is our beach hoppers. So there are some beach hoppers here who have unfortunately met their end in the water. And the beach hopper is what we call an amphipod. So, I've just disturbed several of them. So with these amphipods, there's actually a nice big guy there that I want to show you. So they are flattened sideways, which is very different to an isopod. So amphipods and isopods, let me start right at the beginning. They are in the arthropod family, so those are, that's the same family as your bugs and your spiders. After arthropods, if you want to separate them a little bit more, they're in the crustacean family, like shrimps and things like that. And then the amphipod can have up to 13 different segments, and they are flattened sideways. You can see this one has a very high arched back, which is typical of many amphipods. And so they're not really bugs, but it would be the sea equivalent of a bug. And then we're going to show you the sea slaters in a moment, and there's a lot on the rock just below me, so I don't have a dead one that I'm going to pick up for you. These guys are isopods, so it's a different grouping of crustacean. They have 7 segments and 7 pairs of legs, but you can see they are flattened from the top. So we're going to try and get you a good view of them, and then what I'll do is I'll just show you with my hands how we can tell the difference. I've tried to think of a way to remember isopod and amphipod, because that seems to be the main difference. A lot of the other things that they do tend to be fairly similar, and there's about 300 species of each in South Africa. But the beach hoppers live in between the sand, and your sea slaters tend to live in all the rock crevices, and they eat the same things and they hang out in the same areas. So these are the 2 main arthropods, the 2 main bug-looking things, although they are not bugs, that you find on the seashore of the Western Cape. And I just want to show you, so the isopods, do you want me to go stand there? Okay, so what I'll show you first before we lift up the piece. So the isopod, I'm going to lean against the rock there. So the isopod is flattened down like that. So it's flat little animal, and the amphipods tend to be flattened sideways, and they tend to have a more arched back. So that's one way to tell the difference, but there are in the world thousands of species of both. They're both crustaceans, they do similar things, they eat similar things. Some can be found in water, some are found on land. So very similar, but that's just one way to remember the differences. Both have unstalked eyes, but apparently amphipods can see just a bit better.
I still can't believe the amount of oxpeckers on this poor hippopotamus. It's almost more oxpecker than skin at the moment. But they do seem to be retreating now it's heading into the water. Maybe that's what you should have done first there. Wow, they really are. That was an effective method there, hippopotamus. Well done. And oh, they go.
So you can see the ground is really alive here with both sea slaters and beach hoppers who are crawling out. And there's actually some worms here, which is really interesting. I don't know if they're segmented worms. It sounds a bit gross. It could be the larva of a kelp fly. I don't think it is. I don't think you'll be able to get the worms, but have a look. We'll see. We'll try our best to see if you can actually get the worms in that little shell. And that shell is about as big as my nail bed, to give you an idea of the size of these worms, and they would certainly also help with the decaying the kelp and speeding up the decaying process. And just a reminder that Lauren has an Ask Me Anything session tonight. So I'm sure you all know and love Lauren. She's at Amakhala at the moment, exploring a whole new area of bushveld for us. And please do tune in and ask her whatever questions that you might have. So I just thought the little worms were very cool.
Let's actually lift like a piece of sand to show. Actually, let's find this piece of sand that looks like there's nothing going on in it.
Okay, so Igor wants to find a piece of sand and he wants to show you that there's nothing going on, just to show you how the sand is indeed alive, just as Toby says. And after that, we're going to move to brighter things. We're going to go have a look at some lichen. I will do that in just a moment. Let me see. Okay, so Igor wants me just to move the sand, just so you can see this looks like there's nothing going on. And if I move the sand, you'll just see how the beach hoppers erupt, and they actually sleep during the day. They navigate using the moon at night, and typically they prefer to come out at night because they're not dealing with the sun, they're dealing with less predators. And it's really is an incredible thing. I'm going to cover them up now because there's no reason to keep them all awake. But they can jump about 1 meter tall, which I find very impressive. I think we're going to be heading off from that and having a look at something that we've only really touched on the show just a little bit, and I'll get my shadow out the way. We're going to have a look at some of our lichen. So this is an orange coastal lichen that we have here, and we'll have a nice close look. It is a crustaceous lichen, so it encrusts onto rocks. And Penguin Beaches, we are going to be doing a little bit more on rocks next week. So we're going to have a look at the different types of rocks that you get and the rocks that we get here. But this lichen is a symbiotic relationship between fungi and algae.
We protect and reconnect nature across southern Africa. We bring countries together to care for wild spaces that stretch beyond borders. We protect and restore biodiversity. We prioritize the people living in these landscapes, enabling them to thrive in harmony with nature. We are restoring tomorrow.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on Wild Earth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. Wild Earth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
And we're having a look at what is not an animal and not a plant, but a relationship between fungi and algae. So fungi gives it the structure and algae helps provide some of the food. And Igor very cleverly likened this to the relationship between the animal coral and the symbiotic zooxanthellae. And Igor completely missed my pun, because it was likened, but this is lichen, and this is coastal lichen, so you can see it's very orange in color. A lot of the lichens that you see growing underneath things and on trees are green in color, but this lichen is nice and orange to help protect it from the sun. Nicholas? So, to be honest, laying in the kelp itself is not the most pleasant feeling. I don't have kelp issues. Like, you get some people who are absolutely terrified of seaweed. But what's really nice is that if you get sort of a gap in the kelp and then you go and you lay down and you just kind of float in the water, that's a really nice feeling. All over the rocks in Betty's Bay, and in fact along the Cape Coast, you'll see this orange lichen encrusting on the rocks, and it can actually weather the rock. So the lichen gives off chemicals so that other things don't eat it or don't come and live here, and it causes chemical weathering of the rocks that we see. So next week I think Igor and I are going to be focusing on some rocks and talking a little bit more about that. But I find this lichen really beautiful. And in South Africa, we have around 1,500 identified species and likely about 3,000 in total that are not yet identified. And in lichen, for many years we believed it was only one fungi and one algae, but recently they've discovered there's often two fungi and a single algae that work together. Some lichens also have cyanobacteria instead of algae that helps produce food. So it's a very complex organism or collection of organisms that work together. And it really adds a beautiful colour to the shoreline, which is usually just very dark. So I hope you enjoyed getting a nice close look at the algae. You're going to see a bit of my shadow now. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to move along and go and have a look at our dunes for that last little bit of our show. So we had one of our unanswered questions yesterday, and one of the questions was about the fynbos plants that we might find in Stony Point. And I said before that unfortunately there hasn't actually been a study or a count to look at that. But what I did go and look at is dune fynbos and actually the structure of these dunes. And about 226 species of fynbos are only found on dunes. So it only makes up about 3% of the total Cape Floral Kingdom. So it's a very small component of the Cape Floral Kingdom. But I found it interesting nonetheless. And dunes are very fascinating because the dunes that we have here have formed behind the rocky shores. But many years ago, so about 2 million years ago, to about 11,000 years ago, we had many successive ice ages, and so the sea where it is now is actually very different to where it used to be. It used to be a lot further out, and so this whole area would have been dune fields. And if you have a look at the dune to the left of us, if you have a look, you'll see that most of this dune is covered in dune spinach. The dune spinach is a pioneer plant, so it's often the first that settles on a dune. It'll establish itself, and then that will stabilize the dune.
Here at Wild Earth, we want you to learn as much about the wild as possible. Sadly, we can't answer all the questions on Safari Live, so we've come up with a new way to solve the problem.
I love answering your questions, and now I have the chance to answer even more. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, and you can join me on July the 6th after the Sunset Safari here at the beautiful Amakhala Game Reserve. Have your questions ready.
Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature. Here at Wild Earth, we promised great monthly prizes for our explorers, and this month is no exception. If you join our club before the 10th of July, then you stand a chance to win a fabulous Safari Guide online course brought to you by Bushwise Field Guides. They specialize in accredited Safari Guide training with courses tailored for the African safari lodge industry. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer today and don't miss out on this life-changing opportunity.
So Igor and I are going to keep walking along, and we're going to show you the dune. So we've shown you the dune spinach, but we also want to show you some of the other plants that grow on a fynbos dune. So there's often thicket, which is what you can see at the top, although this is alien thicket. But before alien plants were established here, there would have been other shrubs like the Cape duneweed that would have grown here. And what I found very interesting is that daisies seem to dominate the dune fields. So plants in the daisy family and the pea family are very common. Grasses are very common. But the article I was reading yesterday was saying that you don't really find any proteas on the dunes. And what you'll see here is mostly just dune spinach, but already we start to see the grasses starting to come out. So as we move away from the penguin colony, the dune spinach was actually planted here as part of a conservation measure. And the further we move away from the penguin colony, the more the grasses start to come out. Susie, I wouldn't say so. I think that if you're in a city and you have you seen rats on the beach, Igor?
Yeah, especially in Sea Point. In Cape Town, it's swarming with rats, especially at night around the rocky areas.
Okay, so that's quite a big problem. So Igor's saying that he's seen rats on the beach. So in urban areas, rats might move to the beach because humans leave rubbish there, and then animals start to learn that they can feed there, which is a big problem. And as we all know, rats will eat anything and everything. In an area like this, it would be highly, highly unlikely. I've never seen it. We do have the striped field mouse that you could sometimes see close to the beach, but very unlikely that you'd actually have, a normal feral rat enjoying the beach here, because we also have a healthy population of kestrels. So we have birds of prey that would naturally keep those populations of rats down. But that's a really good question. And this environment is still fairly pristine despite us having quite a lot of alien vegetation, which was set here to try and stabilize the dunes. But now the dune spinach is doing that job, and grasses also do that job. So dune spinach and grasses are what we call the colonizers. So they're often the first plants to establish themselves. And you can see we've got a lot of grass to the side here.
It's time to put your feet up after a long week. Wild Earth invites you to unwind with a weekend at the Waterhole, our life source of the bush, home to so much joy and danger. Join us on the 9th and 10th of July to get your wildlife refill broadcasted to you live all weekend at the Waterhole. Wild Earth's weekend at the Waterhole is going to be epic, and we want to make sure that you are kitted out for the occasion. We've launched some wonderful merchandise just for you. Are you a dam cam lover? Find these and more on our website. So get your snacks ready, put your feet up, and join us for a weekend at the Waterhole.
Igor and I have brought you down a little bit further down the dune. Lindy, the coloration on the rocks is a really stunning part of this coastline, especially at night, because the orange of the lichen really catches the orange of the sunlight. And as the sun goes down, you start to see some beautiful colors here. But what we're really looking at is giving away what is an integral part of Betty's Bay, and that is the fact that this is a marshland. So if you have a look in front of us now, you'll see we've got a lot more grass than dune spinach, and we also have reeds. So we've got these big tufts of reeds growing here, which would be natural reeds. Apparently these reeds are quite lovely for chameleons, although you don't find the chameleons here during the day. The best time to look for them would be at night, as you know, if you watch our safari shows. And speaking of safari, Tess is back. So we said goodbye to Liam, but I'm sure everybody's delighted to have Tess around. She's going to the hyena den, and she's hoping to find Talumba and the club, not the clubs, but the cubs. There are no clubs in Juba. Cedric is also on the lookout for spots this afternoon. Chris is out on foot again, so he's going to follow the tracks he had this morning and see what he can find. Rolf is once again stationed at the waterholes to have a look out to see what might pass by. And just a reminder that this weekend we are celebrating waterholes, and Igor and I are going to be spending time here at the world's biggest waterhole. So please do join us. We're going to be talking about some teas and some very interesting things. I'm very excited for this weekend's shows. And Lauren is very excited because it seems as though the drizzle has stopped over at Amakhala. And she's also excited for her Ask Me Anything tonight, so please do tune into that. I'm sure she says she's a bit nervous, but I'm sure it's going to be wonderful to get to chat to her after all this time. And I'm going to give the last 5 minutes of the show to Igor. What would you like to do? Where do you want to be?
Well, firstly, I have a question for the viewers. Seeing now that Tess is back, I would like to challenge her to see if she can take my drama llama crown from me. I would like the viewers to decide who is the more dramatic between the two of us. Let's actually see if we can get an all-round challenge, because it wasn't quite fair. Out of the whole of Djuma, well, out of the whole of Wild Earth, I landed up with the crown, but the only 2 challenges was the 2 of us. So I think I want to rope Djuma into this contest. So viewers, let us know. And for the rest of it, I think down there, it's hard. I'm looking at in the one direction, trying to talk in the other direction. Yeah, there we go. So if we can walk up there, I don't think we've ever actually been up that pathway.
Okay.
Oh, no, actually we have. I'm wrong. Sorry.
Would you want to do it anyway?
You and I have been there. But let's do it anyway.
Okay.
It's a beautiful road.
Yeah, so Igor wants us to just spend our last little bit of time walking up the path. So Byron is going to be with you tomorrow and Friday, but I'll be back over the weekend in time for those waterhole extravaganzas. So over the weekend, we will not be moving at all. We're going to be stuck in one place. It's supposed to be very stormy here, so Igor and I are going to have to use our innovation to be able to spend some time at what is my favorite watering hole. And I do hope that on the day you're going to be sharing your stories of your favorite watering hole experiences on Wild Earth or in other areas, in your travels. And I also think all the guides should have to tell us what is their favorite watering hole and why. I think that would be a really cool thing to find out, because everybody's got a favorite body of water that they like to sit at and spend their time enjoying.
What's yours, Jess? And you can't say the sea.
My favorite inland watering hole. Does it have to be a watering hole, or can it be a river?
Okay. Do rivers as well?
I really like the Sabi River. I really enjoy the Letaba River. I find it very hard to decide, really. I think I'm very impartial with water. I like any body of water. It's always the thing that makes me the happiest. I think we're going to stop our show right over here.
Not that rock. This rock.
What rock?
The rock next to you.
What do you want me to do, Igor?
On the rock, Jess.
Igor wants me to finish today's show off on the rock, so we could do that for you. Igor thinks that I can't climb, so I'm gonna not step on these lichens. There we go. Okay. Penguin Beaches, thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for asking us questions. Thank you for watching and looking at the dune fields with us. Igor is doing some climbing himself and giving you some shaky views. So I hope that you enjoy your time with Byron. I will be letting him know about a couple of those unanswered questions. When I come back, we're going to be looking at rocks, and maybe we'll start talking about this as a marine protected area, as we have Marine Protected Area Day coming up on the 1st of August. But as always, on behalf of Igor and myself, thank you so much for joining us out here today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for engaging with us. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. We hope that you waddle on and enjoy the safari show. And we will see you again very soon. Thank you so much.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.